The law of averages is something that I've observed throughout my life. It's the simple breakdown of people as such. 20% good, 20% bad, 60% common. I call it the law of averages because the numbers can fluctuate, but those are the averages. Now, there's absolutely no science I've done to come to that. It's just a lifelong observation. Now, with that, I believe there to be a connection to a law with a great deal of science and data behind it. Pareto's law. It was presented in an Italian university paper by Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. It stated that in Italy, 80% of the lands were owned by just 20% of the people. That in his garden, 80% of the yield came from just 20% of the seeds. It has even grown into the business world as well, as it is known that 80% of one's sales come from just 20% of their clients. It's commonly known and referred to as the 80-20 principle, but it's essentially Pareto's law. I make note of that because it's used in the arena of artistry and acting as well. In acting, the 80-20 principle can be used as a foundation to hold up what I believe the structure of acting to truly be. Acting is not one thing, but many. Acting is a system of systems. Think of it like the human being. We're not just one thing, but rather a system of things that holds us together. We have a respiratory system, a circulatory system, a nervous system, a digestive system, and on and on. Like acting, we can carry on without the use of some of a great many systems. Yet while with others, the loss of one could kill us and or the performance altogether. Now this is a simple look at how the 80-20 principle can be implemented in service. But take note, all of the areas shown can be unpacked in a greater depth than I'm about to. Now here's your basic split, 80-20, 80% active, 20% passive. 80% is the contested grounds of the imaginary world you are in, while 20% is the fort or safe zone you can fall back into, which bridges to your reality. Moving into the contested zone, things that belong in this area, your garden of emotions. Now this is the grow house or the warehouse of your emotions. This is important to keep close because emotions are the lifeblood of your performance. It's also a great thing to keep handy when breaking lines into alternate emotional realities. Moving on, the character's suit. This is made up of two base parts. Your base emotional state, which is comprised of pieces like empathy level, loves and fears. And also your base mental state, which is comprised of pieces like theory of mind and personality types and traits. Some of the other things that belong in this area, behavior, thoughts and intent, motivations, focus, relationships, hobbies and passions, as well and most importantly, your character's truth. To the 20% of the passive side. Now this is where you keep all your important implements of battle. This is where you keep your stores and your armories. Where you put mnemonics. Where you lock away your scripts and your lines in your mind. This is where you keep your emotional regulators. All the scene work and script work you've done. This is where the work goes. Where the work from your character breakdown goes. Where the work from your rehearsal goes. Where the work from your training goes. Where the work from your blocking goes. This is where your discipline goes. And this is where you keep the rules. This is where you place the story and lore. And all of these bits and pieces here encompass your preparation. And last, and again, very importantly, this is where your truth goes. So essentially, this 20% here is the preparation you do for success in this 80% here. Now, before I wrap up, I'd like to hit on the counterproductive 20 real quick. This is kind of like the dark energy that's out in space. You likely won't see it, but it's out there and it does affect things. In my law of averages, this is the bad 20%. Now in Pareto's law, it's not really visually expressed, but it is there. It kind of gets confusing to some people because you got the 80% and the 20%, or the 80 and the 20 that equals 100, and they think that's your percentage, but it's not. These are two different columns we're dealing with here. This 20% here in Pareto's law is the 20% good in the law of averages. So that means if this 20% good is bringing in 80% of your returns, it stands to reason that your next level, the 60%, is bringing in the other 20%. So that'll make your 100% of your returns. Now going further, you got this counterproductive 20, or the 20% bad that exists to take from you. Again, it stands to reason that this 20% good and this 60% common are bringing in more than 100% of your returns because they're balancing out what this 20% bad is taking away from you. I'm stopping to make note of that is because ignoring this 20% is leaving yourself open up to being caught off guard by them. Be mindful of their existence and vigilant of their work.